I was really tempted to title this video The Photoshop Killer, but at a certain point, you've got to ask yourself, does every new tool really need to kill its predecessor? Like, does it always have to be a war? Probably not. Still, it does make for a killer thumbnail, right? Anyway, there are about 4 tools right now that can do solid, straightforward image-to-image editing using a reference image, or even edit things directly in context. And for about a week, the frontrunner was OpenAI's image generator, and as we all know, it's closed source. And I'm just gonna say it. It wasn't as impressive as I hoped. Don't get me wrong. It's amazing. It's slick. But the second I upload my own image and ask it to change something specific, it suddenly throws up a warning telling me I'm breaking some kind of guideline. Like, come on, I'm paying for this tool every year, and I can't even use it freely for client work. It gets frustrating fast. And I keep finding myself going back to open source tools. And not long after that, we got Lumina MGPT 2.0, open source. It's a really solid contender, great tool, but let's be honest, it was super GPU intensive. And I mean, it had to be, right? It was trying to compete with OpenAI's offering. It had its moment, people were hyped, and then it kinda just faded out. I still know a few folks who use it, but yeah, the buzz didn't last. Now though, we've got 2 new players, Flux One Dev Context and Omnigen2. And today, we're going to talk about Omnigen2. Alright, before we dive in, if you're into this kind of stuff, definitely like and subscribe. I make a lot more AI tutorials like this, step by step, so if you're learning, this is a good place to be. So Omnigen2, what is it? Why does it matter? And how do you actually use it? At its core, Omnigen2 is a super capable open source generative model. And it's built to be a kind of all-in-one solution for image creation and editing. Think of it like a Swiss Army knife for visual AI. It does everything from generating images, from text prompts, to editing existing images, to blending different elements into a new scene. Like, if you've ever wished there was an open source alternative to the big names. For example, OpenAI's image generator, or even Adobe Photoshop. This is trying to be that. I know, big claim. But let's break it down. So, you might remember Omnigen1. Not great. Kind of a flop. But Omnigen2. Very different story. Here's what changed. Instead of one model trying to do everything at once, like how Omnigen1 used a single pathway to handle both text and image tasks, Omnigen2 splits it up. So now there are 2 separate brains. One is focused entirely on text, and the other is focused on images. And the results? Way more refined. This change helps avoid the whole issue of text training messing up image generation. That used to be a big problem. Models would be great with text, but then completely bungle the visuals because the parameters were all tangled up. They also improved how it sees and processes images. They're using something called a decoupled image tokenizer, and they've built in VAE features right into the image generation side of the model. What that does is help the model capture really detailed visuals, those tiny, subtle things, without getting the language part of the model all confused. And instead of relying on just a few preset signals to understand what you're asking it to do, it taps into these deeper hidden states from its language model. That lets it tackle much more complex instructions with way more nuance and control. It's a really important shift. Okay, now let's talk about setup. You don't need to install anything totally new, which is great. You just need to update ComfyUI and then drag in the workflow. So here's how to update Comfy. First, go to the folder where you originally installed Comfy. Inside that folder, look for a subfolder called Update. Open it. And in there, you'll see a file named Update ComfyUI. Just double-click that file, and it'll handle the update for you automatically. Once that finishes, restart ComfyUI. Just close it and open it again. After that, you're ready to drag in the Omnigen2 workflow. That's all it takes. Now, in this video, we're using the native implementation, and to make sure your system runs smoothly, we're also using the GGUF version. There are 3 specific things I want us to test out today. First, object consistency. Can it recognize and preserve specific objects across edits? Second, how it handles non-human characters. This is usually where models slip up. Things like animals, robots, or fantasy creatures. And third, character consistency. Can it keep a person looking like the same person across different edits and scenes? Before we jump in, just a heads up. Omnigen2 is a little sensitive to low-quality input images. And if you're trying to do really complex edits to human body shapes, it might struggle. This is still an active area of research, so it's not perfect. That said, we're still gonna test it. I'm curious to see how far we can push it. Okay, so the native implementation of Omnigen2 is actually pretty straightforward. I mean, really, it's not that complicated once you see it laid out. What we're working with here is a few core groups in the ComfyUI workflow. You've got the image upload group. That's where you drop in your reference image. Then you've got a model group. That's where the Omnigen2 GGUF model gets loaded. After that, there's the clip loader. And that's for the Qwen 2.5 GGUF model. Oh, and we're using the PigFlux VAE model too. Then you've got the conditioning group. That's where you put your positive and negative prompts. And there's a sampling group. What I did there was just group the sampler nodes together into a single node. That helps tidy things up a bit, makes the whole workflow easier to follow. Last, there's the save group. Pretty self-explanatory. That's where your final image gets saved out. Now, the workflow is actually split into two parts. One uses what's called the dual CFG. That one's a little slower, but the quality? Way better. The other path uses the basic CFG guider, which is faster, yeah, but honestly gives you really low quality results. So maybe don't rely on that one unless you're just testing things quickly. Alright, let's jump into some actual tests. So I started with a simple product advertisement example. I uploaded an image of a camera. Then I gave it this prompt. Smiling woman with blonde hair holding the camera, taking a picture. Super simple. The result? It kind of nailed it, especially considering it was only 20 steps. But let's try bumping that up to 50 steps. And yet the result looks way better. The hands are still a little off, like kind of disfigured in that AI kind of way, but it captured the camera really well. Next, I wanted to see how it handled non-human characters. So I uploaded an image of Mike Wazowski from Monsters Inc. The prompt I gave it was, the little green monster is sitting at a bar wearing a Havana hat, smoking a Cuban cigar. First with 20 steps, then again with 50. So with 20 steps, I could see the cigar, I could see the hat. The setting kinda looked like a bar. He still had the microphone, which might have been my fault honestly, because I didn't tell it to remove it. But, and here's the weird part, he's got a body, like an actual humanoid body. That's where I realized I probably should have been more specific in the prompt, because that's the thing about AI. It's amazing when you just want a result, any result. But when you're after something specific, you really have to spell it out. You've got to guide it step by step. Now with 50 steps, total miss. Didn't help at all. Then I tried something fun. My favorite villain, Ultron. I gave it this prompt. Robot in image sitting on a park bench next to a beautiful lady. The robot has a rose in his hand. The result? I mean, yes, it's a robot. But is it Ultron? Maybe. So I thought maybe 50 steps will help. Tried again, and nope, no real improvement. Then I moved on to testing how it handles real human characters. The prompt is, a man in the image wearing a Havana hat and a long sleeve red shirt. At 20 steps the result is not great. But at 50, it started to actually look like the person in the original image. And this was one of the few times where I got something usable on the first try, which surprised me, so I ran it again out of curiosity. And yep, different result. So you kind of have to run it a few times to get something good out of Omnigen2, at least with the Q4 model I'm using. Now, stepping back for a second, let's be real about this tool. Omnigen2 is a huge improvement over the first version, but let's not pretend it's magic. because while it has some really flashy demos, it also comes with a ton of caveats when you're actually using it. One of the biggest problems is that it doesn't always follow instructions, especially the more complicated ones. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 tries to get something even close to what you had in mind. And yeah, it struggles with human body changes. If your input image is low quality, your output's going to be blurry, off-model, and just kind of wrong. And if you're using more than one input image, you have to be really specific with your prompt. If you're vague, it gets confused. You'll start seeing weird subject swaps or identity shifts. And as for virtual try-on tasks, not great. It changes faces, forgets clothes, not what you want. Multi-image merging is another weak spot. It often can't keep characters consistent. They'll randomly switch places, or one of them will just straight up disappear. And then there's the speed. It's slow. I mean, it took 30 minutes to change the color of a shirt on a 12 gig GPU. Even high-end hardware struggles. Honestly, I think even the base model has been scaled down pretty heavily just to make it run on regular consumer GPUs. So then, the question is, why does it look so good in the official demos? Well, I think we all kinda know the answer. A lot of those demos? They're probably cherry-picked. The devs show the perfect, flawless use cases. But real-world performance? It's not always like that. There's a pretty big gap between those slick examples and the frustrating reality a lot of users face. And sure, the underlying architecture is solid, like it's clever, but translating that into actual, usable, reliable performance, that's where things still fall short. Okay, so what do you actually need to run this? For the base model, you're going to want a GPU with at least 12 GB of VRAM. If you're using the quantized version, like I am here, then you'll need at least 8 gigs. Triton and Sage attention? Don't worry about them if you're using the native implementation. What you do need to do is update ComfyUI. Again, the fastest way to do that, go to the ComfyUI folder on your computer. Inside there, you'll see a folder called Update. Open that and double-click on the file that says Update ComfyUI. That will automatically pull the latest version. Once it's done updating, restart ComfyUI. Then you'll need to drag the Omnigen2 workflow into your ComfyUI workspace. And yeah, that's it. It'll load up the nodes and layout just like I showed earlier. And now for the models. Download the Omnigen2 model. Make sure it's the right GGUF or base version you want, and put it in the Models, Diffusion Models folder inside your ComfyUI directory. Then download the clip model, again GGUF or base, and drop that into the Models Text Encoders folder. And finally, the VAE. We're using the PigFlux VAE. If you already have it, great. If not, download it and place it in the Models VAE folder. You'll notice I'm using the PigFlux variant. Try it out, see if it improves your results. It might give you a little bump in detail. Once that's all in place, drag the workflow file into your ComfyUI workspace and you're good to go. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. Like and subscribe for more wild, weird, and amazing AI content. This is the Sneaky Robot. See you in the next one.